Before we begin, take a moment to pause. If you've ever stayed up late with thoughts you couldn't quiet, if you've ever stood at the edge of a life-changing decision and wondered whether you were brave enough to step forward, then this story is for you. If you've watched videos like this before and found comfort in them, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. It's the simplest way to support these stories and helps ensure we can keep sharing more moments like this with you. And if this is your first time here, welcome. I hope this story stays with you long after it ends. Now, let me tell you what happened the night before my wedding. The night before I was supposed to get married, I thought I would be alone. Not lonely, just alone in that quiet, trembling way people are before something irreversible. I imagined myself pacing the room, rereading my vows, staring at the ceiling, wondering if sleep would ever come. I expected nerves. I expected anticipation. I even expected fear. What I didn't expect was the knock at the door. But before that sound broke the silence, there was the stillness. The room felt suspended in time. Everything was already prepared for the morning. Yet nothing felt settled inside me. My suit hung neatly in the closet, pressed and waiting, like it already knew its purpose. On the dresser, a small velvet box held the rings, tiny circles that somehow carried the weight of a lifetime. My vows were folded carefully beside the bed, words I had rewritten a dozen times, each version trying to sound certain, confident, sure. I lay there staring at the ceiling, listening to the low hum of the heater, feeling the weight of tomorrow pressed gently against me. Tomorrow I would stand in front of everyone I loved and promise forever. And yet, despite all the love, all the certainty I thought I had, a single thought kept circling back. What if forever became ordinary? My fiancé used to joke about it. "We won't be a boring couple," he'd say with that easy grin that always made me laugh. At the time, I laughed too, the kind of laugh people use when something feels light enough to ignore. But lying there in the dark, I wasn't laughing anymore. I wasn't afraid of commitment. I wasn't afraid of love. I was afraid of losing the parts of myself that felt alive. Before him, my life had been colorful and unpredictable. Late-night conversations that stretched into early morning walks. Plans made at the last minute that turned into stories I still tell. Friendships that felt more like family than obligation. I had grown used to movement, to freedom that felt like breathing. And now, standing on the edge of marriage, I wondered quietly if choosing stability meant letting go of spontaneity. Was I ready to trade uncertainty for permanence? Would I still recognize myself once I said I do? These were not questions I could ask anyone out loud, so I let them echo silently in the room until the knock came. It was soft but deliberate. Not the hesitant knock of someone unsure, not the rushed knock of someone in a hurry. Just 3 steady taps. I sat up immediately, heart racing, confusion replacing my thoughts. No one was supposed to visit. Everyone knew I wanted the night to myself. Still, I opened the door without thinking, and there they were. 3 men stood quietly in the hallway. None of them spoke at first. One had an arm covered in tattoos, fine lines, geometric patterns, birds frozen mid-flight, as if they might lift off at any moment. Another was older, his beard touched with silver, his face worn in a way that suggested kindness earned through experience. The third was tall and broad-shouldered, filling the doorway with a presence that felt protective rather than imposing. The man in front stepped forward and handed me a small envelope. My name was written on it in my fiancé's handwriting. My fingers trembled as I opened it. Inside, the note was short. "You said you were afraid of a boring life. This is my answer. Enjoy tonight. I'll see you at the altar. Your almost husband." I read it twice, once out loud, once silently, letting the words settle. My heart pounded. Not with fear this time, but with something else. Before I could ask a question, the older man spoke. "We're here for you," he said calmly. "Tonight is about listening." There was no pressure in his voice, just certainty. And somehow I trusted it. I stepped aside and let them in. They didn't rush. Their movements were quiet, intentional, respectful. No one crossed a boundary. No one filled the space with unnecessary words. I closed the door behind them, the click echoing louder than it should have. Suddenly, the room felt different, not crowded, but held. As I stood there, unsure what to do with my hands, they moved closer, not to overwhelm me, but to anchor me. A gentle hand rested at my elbow. Another brushed my shoulder in reassurance. A palm settled briefly at my lower back, grounding me. No one spoke. They helped me slip out of my robe, folding it carefully and placing it over a chair as if that small detail mattered. You're safe, one of them said softly. We'll move at your pace, said another. You don't have to carry tonight alone, the third added. For the first time all evening, my breathing slowed. One of them sat on the edge of the bed and took my hands. Just match my breathing, he said quietly. Inhale, exhale, slow, steady. The others settled nearby, one beside me, one just behind, hands resting lightly, offering presence rather than control. When my thoughts started racing again, the tattooed man gently helped me lie back, arranging pillows with care, supporting me like something fragile and valuable. At my feet, someone held my ankles, not tightly, just enough to remind me where I was. Beside me, fingers brushed hair away from my face. You're allowed to be unsure, a voice whispered. You don't have to be brave tonight, said another. Their words didn't demand answers. They offered space. They talked with me. They shared stories of nights before big decisions, of fears that felt overwhelming until they weren't, of relationships that didn't lose excitement, but learned how to. Marriage isn't the end of adventure, the older man said. It's a different kind. That sentence stayed with me. They spoke about curiosity, about choosing each other in small moments, about laughter during arguments and forgiveness after mistakes. I found myself laughing, really laughing, for the first time in days. The knot in my chest loosened. As the night stretched on, I understood something important. I wasn't afraid of marriage. I was afraid of disappearing inside it. What I wanted wasn't freedom from commitment. It was freedom within it, to be known, to be seen, to be allowed to grow. And somehow through their presence, through my fiancé's quiet understanding, that fear softened. Promises didn't feel like cages anymore. They felt like invitations. They read notes my fiancé had left. Inside jokes, memories only we shared, promises whispered on paper. You're loved, the older man said simply. And for the first time, I believed it without doubt. Sleep came gently, not the restless kind, but the kind that feels earned. As I lay there listening to the quiet outside the window, I felt ready. Tomorrow I would say I do.